Hi everyone, my name is Nicole and this is my story. I was born in the Philippines. I moved to Kuwait when I was 1. I stayed there for a couple years and then eventually I moved to the US when I was 4. When I was in 3rd grade, I came home with a report card that was lined with straight B's from top to bottom. My parents sat me down that night and they didn't yell at me really, but they just told me that I needed to do better in school because, as they worded it, I might have been raised as an American, but I was Filipino and things were going to be undoubtedly a little harder for me as I grew up. As a carefree 3rd grader, I didn't really pay much heed to the hardships that my parents had mentioned, but I did take care in following their instructions, and from that point on, I'd come home with report cards uniformly decorated with A's. And even though my parents were visibly really pleased with my success and my good grades, they also seemed kind of worried. And it was the kind of worry that only I could see in their eyes. After my middle school graduation, my parents revealed to me that I didn't exactly have the paperwork to call myself a citizen of the United States. And not fully understanding the depth of the situation, I kind of just brushed it off. And I told myself I'd fix it once I turned 18. When I was 16, it dawned upon me that the circumstances and the solutions to fix these circumstances of mine were not as simple as I once thought them to be. I felt as if doors that were once opened and welcoming and filled with opportunities and success and happiness were being shut in my face. I felt like I was ripped of my chances of success. I was enraged and I felt completely and utterly hopeless. For the longest time, I blamed my parents. I was filled with so much fire and so much frustration that I couldn't reach for the skies. They always raised me to be the best that I could possibly be and to get perfect grades and to be the best student I possibly could. And it was really heartbreaking for me to realize that my wings were clipped before I could even fly. They brought me here to give me better opportunities, but in doing so, they stripped me of them. To most of my classmates and peers, citizenship is merely another checkbox on an application. But for me, citizenship is a gateway to success, a success that I learned from a young age I'd have to take the long way to get to. Underneath all of this immediate fear and frustration, I found resilience within myself. And in the face of all the adversity, it drove me to work harder and to persevere. And at age 16, I took it upon myself to take every step I possibly could to fix everything. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the struggles of the undocumented youth, let me briefly explain to you what it means to be fully undocumented. Essentially, at the core, it basically means you can't get a job, you can't drive, you don't have a social security number, you will have a difficult time going to college in terms of paying it off, and in some cases, you might have a really, really hard time finding a place to live. And as always, you're always living in fear of deportation. I, thankfully, never really had to suffer through most of those issues because I qualified for DACA, which essentially stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Because of this, I have a social security number, I can get a job, I can drive, I fortunately have a roof over my head thanks to both of my loving and supportive parents, but at the same time, I get absolutely no funding for college. I've had to spend this last year as a senior at my high school applying as an international student and then consequently getting denied by all my universities, mainly because of my status. Mind you, I have a 6.6 GPA. I graduated with summa cum laude. I'm in the top 10 of my graduating class in terms of ranking. I volunteered at my local hospital for 6 years. I direct, conduct, oversee an orchestra program. I am involved in a government youth group. I created my own business. I also have a part-time job, and I'm an avid boxer. But please don't get me wrong. I don't say this to brag, and I've never been one to toot my own horn, but I've worked for this my whole life, and realizing these circumstances just made me feel like all my hard work kind of just went to waste. I felt that all the effort I put into my schoolwork, into my extracurriculars, and all the sleepless nights filled with textbooks, highlighters, and note cards were now meaningless. How could anyone tell me that I didn't belong in this country when this is basically the only place I could call home? All because I spent my first year of life in a different country. I was incredibly scared, I was worried, I was confused, but growing up under these circumstances, I learned that although there are factors in life I have absolutely no control over, and that they may seem unfair, instead of losing inspiration, I should always gain it and gain confidence to conquer my goals. The obstacles I've had to overcome have transformed me into a more responsible and mature being. They've taught me to always work harder and to persevere and to be resilient. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, but it is the courage to continue that counts." And I believe that it's this courage, that it's this determination, that this perseverance that's turned me into the perseverant, multicultural, determined young woman that I'm proud to call myself today. My name is Nicole. I am undocumented, and I am unafraid. If there's one last thing I want to leave you with today, I want you to understand and know that you're not alone. You can always reach out to me through this email if you want to just share your story, vent, ask questions, or want to get involved. Please feel free to email me at this address. Thank you for watching my story. Please make sure to subscribe, comment, and share it with your friends.